Hello. For today's project, I would like to show you how to make a simple pair of pants. I'll actually be making the pants for my son. He was recently given a shirt. It's an Indian shirt, I believe called a kurta. And to go with the shirt, I wanted to make him a pair of pants. And it just so happens I have a dress that I've been meaning to repurpose because I like the fabric, but couldn't quite figure out what I wanted to do with it. Here's what the dress looks like, but the inside wasn't hemmed. It's got a zipper on the back. It's not exactly historically accurate with the zipper, so I'd like to use this fabric as pants to go with the shirt for my son. Follow me as I try to make these into pants. Although I'm sorely tempted to use the scissors to cut the seams, instead I want to try to save as much of the fabric as possible, and so I'm using a seam ripper here to cut apart the seams. And as you can see where this one side seam was, I'm saving myself about 1/2 inch of fabric on either side by not just cutting it with the scissors. And this is going to take a while. Now that I've finally detached the skirt from the dress, now it's time to get the measurements for the pants. Now you'll want to have the waist measurement, the inseam, the outer seam, also the ankle, and then also you'll want to take a measuring tape and go from your belly button in between your legs and up to the back and get that measurement too. And let's fold out the fabric and get started measuring out the pants. Now for the pants that I'm cutting out, the outseam is 37 inches, but I'm going to make them longer than that because this is for a boy who is growing very rapidly. So as you can see from here, I've got 40 inches. And I'm just going to go up a little bit for extra seam allowance. And just doing that again up here. One thing I forgot to mention is that I've got the fabric folded over. This is where the fold is, and this will be on the outer seam, so right along here. This is the waist, and down here will be the ankle. And this will be one pant leg, and then I'll measure out the fabric to be identical to this for the other pant leg. Okay. And now I want to measure across here for the waist. Now with the waist measurement, you'll want to take that and divide it in fourths, because since you've got the fold here, this will be 1/4 and then a fourth over here, so that's 1/2, and then the other pant leg will make up the other half. And you'll also want to make sure to allow for seam allowance. So for example, for this waistband, the waist I need 28 inches before the seam allowance. So half of 28 would be 14, so half of that would be 7. So I want to go 7 inches from my fold, and then allow a little bit for seam allowance, growth, because I'm going to be putting in an elastic band in the waist. So you want to make sure to give extra room. So we said 7. I'll give him 3 inches. Okay. And then do you remember the measurement that I said to take from the waist and around to your backside? For that one, you'll want to divide that measurement in half. And you're going to take that measurement and sort of make a J. So let me show you what I mean by that. And I still don't have fabric chalk, so I'm improvising with pins. So let's see, 14. And also you want it to be about 3 inches from your top. So to give you an idea, this would be 3 right here. I'll just stick that one up. So that's 3 inches from the waistband up at the top. Here, let me move that. Okay. So here's my 1/4 of the waistband. The additional 3 inches is right here. And now my J is going to go down and around and be in line with that 3 inches up there. Oh, and the other thing I just remembered, also with that measurement, you'll want to allow extra seam allowance going down and around because you'll want to make room for your waistband. And then from here, I'm going to measure from the bottom, from the ankle, and measure up for the inseam. So actually, first I need my ankle measurement down here. And plus allow for seam allowance. So there's that. And I want to line up this with the pin up here. That was 3 inches from the waistband. And right here will be the inseam, and you also want to allow a little bit of seam allowance. So let's see. And also remember with me, I'd also allowed it was about 3.5 inches for growth, so I'm also having to add that into my number. So put that right about there. So if I've done my math right, this should match the half. Yep, that's half of the measurement going from the waist down and around. And now just finishing out my J. In a minute, I will zoom in and let you see all my pins. Okay, so here's along the top. My one pin is hiding. So this is the waistband. And then this is the additional 3-inch mark from the edge of the waist. And then down here, following these pins, this will be the inside from the waist down in between the legs. Going from the 3-inch mark straight down is where the inseam will start. And then the inseam will follow right along the edge of the measuring stick down to the bottom. And now cutting up along the inseam. And now that J figure that I talked about, okay. Now I've got one pant leg cut out. Now time to cut the other one out. Now this pant leg should be a lot easier. I've folded over my fabric, and now I'm just going to place the pant leg that I just cut out. And place it right over top of this one, getting my folds to lay right on top of each other. And once I've got everything folded down, now I'm going to pin it. Okay, now I'm just going to cut right along the edge there. And now I've got one of the ends of the pant legs right next to the ankle. And I'm going to go ahead and pin this up for hemming it. And you want to make sure to fold it over twice, that way the fabric does not unravel. Now that I have the ankles pinned up, now I'm going to lay the pants down. Here's the waistband, and I guess front or back, it doesn't really matter at this point. I'm going to lay that one down, and then this one like that on top. And match up the edges. And now I'm going to pin them together. I'm only pinning from here on up to the waistband. You do not want to sew the inseam yet. And now it's time to start sewing. Now once you've sewn where the J is and also at the bottom of the pants, now you want to pull the pant legs apart. And first, you'll want the front and the back side to come together like this. So see, this seam matches where that seam is. Now I'm going to pull one pant leg apart. And then this is where the ankle will be. And now just time to finish pinning the rest of the leg together. And now that I've got one pant leg pinned, now I'm going to pin the other pant leg. First, I'm going to go down to where the ankle is. And then put all the other pins in place. You want to make sure that the two edges of your fabric meet. Now time for more sewing. And now, as you can see, I'm coming up to where the inseams meet. And I'm just going to pull this and make it one continuous line. And now I'm going down the inseam of the other leg. Now that the pant legs have been sewn, the final thing to do is to work on the waistband. Now you can make this to where you have a drawstring, which would probably be more historically accurate, or in my case, I'm just going to use elastic. The other thing before doing the waistband, depending on the type of fabric you have, you may want to just curl it over like this and then pin it down. This will help keep the inseam or the inside seams nicer looking. They won't fray as much. But again, that depends on the type of fabric you have or how much time you have. But if you do this where you fold it over and then over again, you'll do that the length of your frayed edge here. Just pin it down and then whip stitch it into place. And again, that's optional if you want to do that or not. And then after that, you'll want to measure out how thick your elastic is, and then give yourself at least that much seam allowance. What I like to do is I like to fold it down like that. It tends to not bunch up as much when you wear it. And then so I'm folding over once, then folding over a second time, and then this will be the waistband. And here I'm giving myself 1.5 inches. As you saw, the elastic is only 1/2 inch, so if I wanted to, I could make the waistband a lot shorter and make it only 1 inch. Just make sure you allow for seam allowance. And time to start pinning. Now, as you can see, I've pinned my waistband and I'm just at the other side of the fabric here. And what I like to do is on one of the, either the front or the back, usually I put it on the back side, is I will put pins on either side of the seam. And then when I sew it, I'll leave this little stretch open, and then that's where I will feed the elastic through, and then I will stitch the elastic into my final stitch there. Okay, let's go sew this. Now I've got the waistband almost all stitched together. I've got one little hole right here, and that's where I'm going to feed the elastic through. Now what I like to do is I'll take a safety pin and pin it through one edge of the elastic. And then I'll use the safety pin to help feed it through the fabric. This also helps, aside from getting the elastic to go through the waistband, but also by having it there, it helps keep the elastic flat so it doesn't coil around in the waistband. That's also why I like to sew the elastic into the waistband itself. That way when it goes into the washing machine, it doesn't twist and turn as much. Now, as I'm still feeding the elastic through the waistband, here is the other end of the elastic, and what I want to do is I'm going to take a pin and pin it in place. That way, as I continue pulling the elastic through on the other side, I don't lose the tail in the waistband. Now I've pulled the front end through the waistband. Here's the tail and here's the front. I have taken a pin here to pin that in place and pin this one in place. And for an extra measure, I've safety pinned the two ends of the elastic together. That way if one of my pins falls out of place, I don't lose the elastic in the waistband. Time to go sew. Now it looks like the pants were a success.